AI to transform MSP enablement while maintaining the human edge that drives competitive advantage. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about on today's show. Big topic. We'll share a little bit about how Pax8 is using AI and how we're using the same kind of tools that you might be investigating. Because AI is really not about replacing human expertise. It's about amplifying your strategic thinking and accelerating your path to market leadership. The key is knowing when to utilize AI and how to integrate it into your processes successfully. And let's face it, it is fun to play with those robots. So before we start our AI talk, I'd love to welcome Chris and Rex on. Welcome, guys. It's the first time we've all been together.
It feels great. I love this. I'm so excited about this show.
Yeah, I feel like we need to do the Brady Bunch thing and look at each other since our first time on the show together.
Wait, no, what's the wrong way?
So excited to be working with the three of you.
I will refrain from singing the song for now, but maybe we can get Willis or some of the other team to help us build a Brady Bunch theme, maybe for a special episode.
Yeah.
But before we continue, I did want to build a little bit of hype. I wanted to take a moment to talk about podcasts. So Academy Live is dedicated to helping businesses set up and strengthen their operations. This show wants to help you set up the foundation of your business by walking you through practical insights and tips on business fundamentals through bite-sized pieces of what the Academy team at Pax8 offers. So we are on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere where you might look for a podcast. So what you're seeing on screen now is how we appear on Spotify. Super, super easy to follow us and subscribe. Really excited, really happy to see kind of the entire catalog of all these shows out there already, ready for your afternoon commute. Rex, I know you were really excited about podcasts originally, and it was something you pushed forward really hard. Can you tell us a little bit about why you were so excited about them?
Well, first of all, I personally don't like doing a lot of reading, so I'm always like, how can I get this education to talk to me? But we were working really hard on creating that result selling framework content that we've had a lot of luck with. And I went into the peer groups that Chris Kaiser runs. And I went into each group and was talking about result selling framework, but I asked each group individually, hey, how do you want to consume this content? And I did not prompt with podcasts at all in any of the groups, but every single one of them came out and said, we would love to consume this over a podcast. And that's when I came back and just started evangelizing with studios and within my team that we have to create this content in a podcast format. And it took a little while, right? But here it is, man. And I am so excited to have it out there. And now the hard work is evangelizing and getting everybody to take a listen and make it part of their routine, because there is some amazing partner-facing content in there. Thank you, Amanda.
It's very interesting. It is interesting how unified and how strong that voice was, Rex. I remember you going into our accountability meetings and meeting with people, and I remember unprompted how strong it was. How incorporated podcasts are to people's modes of learning and interacting and navigating information. So thrilled to be kind of involved in that and kind of be able to promote through there. Amanda?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm a big fan, and it's not just because I help produce these things, but also because I think they're genuinely useful. It's awesome to have different ways to take in the same information, reinforce important processes, ideas, and I'm just really excited that there's new ways for people to consume sort of some of this wisdom that Rex and Chris and hopefully eventually I bring to the show. So just really excited. Get out there, subscribe. We really appreciate it. So back to our friendly brobots, one of my favorite topics. I would love to start out with a fun little video. It was actually one of the videos we used for testing on the tool, so it's kind of a goof. But let's go ahead and play that first video and just take a look.
Hey there! I really just wanted to take a second today and just acknowledge how cool Amanda is. I understand there are only 24 hours in a day, but somehow she makes it seem like she can clone herself. It's truly amazing to behold. If you haven't yet done so, make sure you send her a virtual hug. She deserves it.
So again, pretty fun to have the ability to sort of have your, one of your bosses tell you how
I,
amazing you
I,
are on a daily
I,
basis. Just
I'd,
press
I'd
record.
say that
But
was awkward sitting here. It really was.
it's pretty great though. And part of the fun of these things is we can actually very easy flip of a switch translate it. So I want to show you the same video, but I want to show you how natural Rex seems in German.
Hallo zusammen. Ich wollte mir heute einfach mal eine Sekunde Zeit nehmen und anerkennen, wie cool Amanda ist. Ich verstehe ja, dass der Tag nur 24 Stunden hat, aber irgendwie schafft sie es, dass es so aussieht, als ob sie sich selbst klonen könnte. Es ist wirklich erstaunlich, das zu sehen. Falls Sie es noch nicht getan haben, schicken Sie ihr eine virtuelle Umarmung. Sie hat es verdient.
So those are kind of fun, silly examples of what you can do, but it lets you know just how powerful these things are, right? And what's really special about this, and I'm going to ask Rex to kind of tell us this story, is normally you record these things. It takes about 2 minutes of video to train an avatar. So, not very much content at all. And it picks up all your gestures and your body language and all of that. Your tones of your voice. You can actually use the voice independently for voiceovers or other things. And it, like you heard, simulates those other languages well in their natural voice, which is really powerful for regionalization. So as silly as that example was, it'll actually be quite a powerful thing for Academy and the rest of Pax8 when we really start integrating these tools into our processes. So before I continue on, I'd love, Rex, what was special about this video? What I mentioned taping 2 minutes of video. Why was this one a little bit different?
So Amanda was experimenting with the Synthesia tool, and she asked us to create a recording with some video in it. And if you noticed in that video, I put my hand in front of my face when I said number 4, and it didn't work right in the rendering. But I didn't feel good. I had a really bad head cold, and I was like, I do not want an avatar of myself sounding like I've got a head cold out there. But so Amanda just took a video from the internet that already existed of me talking and used it to train my avatar. And that's where that came from. So I actually really participated zero to make that video of me talking in German and English, I believe. But yeah, it's definitely weird and awkward to see myself saying things that I didn't say.
Yeah, it's just robots all the way down. It's just layer upon layer of robots, right? Yeah, it's just a fun story because it just shows the power behind it. It's this technology is getting so good that it can translate from fewer and fewer pieces of information. It can create live avatars with just a few pictures. There's a lot of stuff you can do and a lot of stuff that maybe will get you thinking at MSPs about how do we start using some of these powerful generative tools. But I'm gonna toss it over to Chris now. I'm curious. Like my video is fun. I don't imagine our partners doing a ton of video creating, but I would love to hear more about what are you hearing in peer groups? What are you hearing from our partners around how they're utilizing AI?
Yeah, it's fun. Like I think about that, and first of all, what you just shared with that with the German, the power really is amazing. And I love that you made an acknowledgement about that because it really is. And the use, there's potential, but when you look a lot of our partners, and things in the regional, in their areas. Some of the things I hear a lot of talk about is kind of obviously like trying to use AI to make service delivery better. How does it help desk? And so, you heard a lot of stories in peer groups, people taking data from service tickets and putting it through AI and asking it questions to come up with knowledge-based articles or helping, direct people to resources and using AI to be more effective with knowledge bases, existing service tickets, all this data that we have from just serving our clients. So that's kind of cool to see how that's kind of starting to play out. But there's a lot of vision around service delivery and using AI to collate and make data available more effective for service delivery and help desk. Another one is just in detail collection. I've heard a lot of stories about using it in sales and discovery calls. recording sessions and meetings, not just for the transcripts, but to kind of pick up on tone, feeling, affect, which is wild to think how much AI can pick up on sentiment, and I've seen people kind of play around with what was the tone of this or what was the response, and some of the cues that AI actually picks up on are really pretty phenomenal. But um, using that to kind of look back on to make proposals more accurate or to make details within a discovery more complete. So that's just another way I've heard about people using AI across our partners and things like that. Um, and another one, kind of really simple, but I think a really powerful one, we talk a lot about summaries and summarizing meetings. There's a lot of kind of obvious ones and low hanging fruit, but I'll still mention because I think a lot of people still new to AI. Any idea and use case I think is valuable, but just, that being able to prioritize emails. People talk about going away or being out all day or out a week or things like that. And being able to quickly go through and filter and sort and prioritize and use prompts to filter out all this huge amount of data in email particularly. But another example of that of summarizing things was I had this great story that I love from a peer group partner at Beyond. And while we were at Beyond, we caught up, we were connecting, talking. I'm like, what's this? He had this little device hanging around, like on a little lanyard, and this little, just this weird little oval thing kind of hanging around, and I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, this is this recorder, and it records the sessions. I'm like, well, so you just record and listen to it later. And what it was is it was really part of this tool where he would go into sessions, and it actually did a really good job of with all the acoustics of picking up the presentations via audio, but then putting it through AI to generate summaries and action items and next steps that it made it very easy then to kind of collect and filter through and create an action plan. So he he shared with me these notes afterwards. He kind of showed me this whole process of this collecting of raw data, and it's actually pretty good just of the audio quality and information, but then how he kind of fit it through AI in multiple ways and what the end result was and how he was able to kind of take this device and very quickly and easily create an action plan from the Beyond conference. And I thought that was a really cool demonstration because I look back over the years, Rex, I know, Amanda, just going to conferences, how overwhelming it is. And I always complain like, man, we need to build in buffer time just to digest all the things you're taking in. You're hearing so many things, you're having so many conversations on the sidebars, you're switching gears constantly. And to be able to kind of take an action plan out of a conference and go to be successful. I mean, how many times, Rex, to be honest, did you spend at the airport waiting for your flight or on the flight going through notes from a conference? Is that a thing for you?
Oh, it totally is. But I was just at ChannelCon down in Nashville, and I noticed in some of the sessions there was like a table with those devices lined up because people wanted to be in two sessions that were running concurrently. So they dropped their device in one and went to the other one. It's like, wow, that's really gaining traction.
That's becoming a thing. So it's neat. So Amanda, those are just some kind of examples of things that I hear. Things I know there's so much more, but those are the kind of ones that come to the top as I thought about this. But I think a key point to all that is, like anything, we talk about this all the time. We have an Academy Live for probably years now. Is it years now? Anyway, I don't even want to fathom that. The ones that work better are the ones that have a strategic plan attached to it. And that really involves, I kind of want to tie this back to the human element, the environment, the culture, the use, the people that use it. It's not a matter of just buying or turning on the CI switch and throwing stuff at it, having it coming back, and it's got a bow on it. So whether it's, service tickets, there's a good example. Okay, there's a great use case for it, but Rex did a show and he's done presentations about garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have your service tickets set up and you don't have things cataloged and tagged, it's very hard to make it useful to use AI against it. If you are doing this conferences and meetings, if you don't have a plan on how you're using it and how you're prompting and interacting with it and what you want to generate, which is action plans, it's it's not as much value. It's hard. So I just think that human element and the strategic planning around the use of AI are so critical. And Amanda, we talked about this, and I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on that and how important the human side is.
Yeah, 100%, right? I love what you said about a plan. It's always about understanding what is the best use. How is it actually saving you time? How is it actually making you more into a cyborg, right? Like we love this augmentation effect, not the replacement, not anything else. It's about improving and making things more efficient. I actually, speaking of service tickets, have a really good example here from one of our Academy on Demand courses around what happens when you actually go to AI too quickly. Maybe there is space to say, we really need to get this process right before we integrate this kind of automation around it. So let's go ahead and play that video for a second.
Section 3. The risks of over-reliance. AI can be very helpful when researching a solution, but not at the expense of our own due diligence. Let's dig into an example. Alex, a junior MSP tech, is swamped with tickets. For a client's firewall issue, Alex copies the error into an AI tool and applies the suggested fix. It works, but Alex doesn't read the documentation or check the client's unique network setup. A month later, the client asks Alex to explain what was changed and why. Alex can't remember the details or the reasoning behind the fix. The client loses confidence, and Alex feels anxious and disconnected from the work. When you rely on AI too early or too much, you risk cognitive debt, losing the ability to explain, remember, and truly own your solutions. The short-term relief leads to long-term loss of skill, confidence, and client trust. AI should serve to make you more efficient and reduce error. No matter how smart our bots are, we need to continue to practice the skills and decision-making to keep us sharp and keep clients happy.
Yeah, like I said, the human element is so important. As you're saying, Chris, we are going to be the engine that powers these relationships that are helped and facilitated by AI, but are owned by us. I think this is going to be a completely different way of thinking, and it's going to require us to be really creative about how we integrate AI. So, having said that, I think, speaking of amazing minds who know exactly what to do, Rex, why don't you tell us a little bit about our CEO, Scott Chasen's report? I think it's been the buzz. People may have heard of it, but tell us a little bit more about what this inflection point is and kind of how it connects back to what we've already been talking about today.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to start with a little bit of my own journey, right? Especially the second half of 2024. I was really unclear if I'm going to be here for this, this strategic inflection point around this agentic AI movement that's happening, and I really wasn't sure if I was going to be in for another industry transformation, right? Or is it time for me to kind of check out and ride off into the sunset? And that was really the way I was feeling. But I have the pleasure of spending time with Scott Chasen, right? Pax8's CEO, and he is incredibly inspirational around this AI inflection point. Um, and he really helped guide me to the beginning of 2025, making the decision, I'm all in, right? And I remember making that decision. I was talking about our industry, right? I've been in it since the late 80s, and how we transformed ourselves from product resale and making money on selling computers and doing the installations for free, to having to learn how to make money on services, as different big box resellers came on the market. And then we had to transform ourselves to start doing networking. And then we had to transform ourselves into managing those networks, right? And the MSP 1.0 came about with network monitoring, but we didn't want to take any risk, right? If anything broke, we're going to bill you for it. But then, we did this cloud migration and security. Our industry has transformed itself, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. And I've been saying recently, you might ask any one of our partners what they're best at. They're probably going to say something like technology or networks or cloud. But I would advocate that what our industry is really best at is transforming the way we do business. And that gives me so much confidence as this AI transformation is coming at all of us. I tend to point out that in all those other transformations, though, as an industry, we led those changes. But when we look at this AI technology, it's not necessarily our managed services or IT solution provider industry driving those changes. AI is coming at us sideways. It's coming into our clients. It's coming from the applications they're using. It's coming from AI services providers. It's already starting to show up, and we're having to learn how to compete against it. And at Beyond, our CEO, Scott Chasen, released the strategic inflection point, or the agentic inflection point, the rise of the managed intelligence provider. Mine's looking pretty tattered because I've spent a lot of time working with it, and I've asked everybody within partner enablement within Pax8 to break away from the tyranny of the urgent that we're stuck in with our inboxes dinging and our phones vibrating, and go find 2 to 3 hours just to sit down and study this report, because there's some amazing context in here that really helped me get fully on board during 2025, that our industry needs to really lean into what this managed intelligence provider is, right? There's the triple acceleration happening with the AI models, just rapidly changing. We've got the chip technologies are just outpacing Moore's law, something we haven't seen. Like technology kept pace with Moore's law from the 1960s until just recently, and now we're just throwing Moore's law out the window. It's advancing so fast. And then we got this amazing investment happening in all this infrastructure to run these data centers, right? And then you pair that with what's happening with agents, going from the simple chatbots that we're working with to the assistants. There's kind of four levels there, right? The second level is the assistants, where these agents can actually start to make some decisions and execute processes in order to really, that third level is really going to be this digital labor, right? And this is kind of where we are as the cutting edge, like just coming out, where these autonomous agents are operating independently across multiple systems. And what's out on the frontier is this digital workforce, right? Where just like you can hire an employee, you'll be able to hire agents, and all of that is kind of coming together and that's what catalyzed me, that I am all in on getting this done. We've got the AI built SMB, right, where a small to medium business is coming in right from the beginning and building their entire business around AI, right from the beginning. Matter of fact, I saw earlier today a list of companies that are targeting the first Uno unicorn, right? That's a one-person company with $1 billion valuation, right? Like imagine that there's companies chasing that right now, and that's small to medium business. So, this is all coming at us. And I was on a call right after Beyond talking to our friends over at Empath, and I said something about the agentic AI revolution, and he said, "Is it though? Is it an evolution or I said revolution?" He said, "Is it though? I think it's more of an evolution." And I was like, "Well, wait a minute. I think it's both, right? We've got well-capitalized new startup companies that are coming in really unencumbered with all the existing revenue, costs, and expenses of an existing business. And we've got some well-capitalized existing managed service providers diving in head first, right? And they are going to be first to market with AI solutions, and they're coming at our MSP clients fast. And just like break fix companies have learned to know what their target client profile is and talk against MSPs that are kind of coming at their clients, right? We have best in class MSPs, we have best in class project companies, we have best in class break fix companies. And in the future, we're going to have best in class managed intelligence providers, and like all of that is happening right now. And as an industry, we need to embrace it now. And the kind of got ahead of myself here, but what what do we need to be doing right now as MSPs? Um, when I was at Beyond, I believe it was Tony from Microsoft came on stage, and he was talking about what should you be doing right now is be customer zero. Means we need to be using these technologies ourselves as providers, to improve our businesses in the way we do business. We need to be leveraging the technologies. Chris and Amanda talked about them earlier, and I'm advocating that you're picking something that your clients can see that you're using it, because that's going to trigger the curiosity of your customers asking you as an MSP to help them with their AI technologies and implementing it into the way that they're doing business, right? Right now, we need to be triggering that curiosity. I'm an advocate of peer groups. Get involved in the peer groups. Pax8 has some amazing peer groups and user groups around this agentic inflection point. But let's all be learning together. That's the stage that we're in right now. And then the last thing I'm advocating that our partners do is start a user group within your own client base. Take some of your leading end clients that are trying to implement AI technologies and get them together so that you and a couple of your leading clients are all trying to learn about this together, because that's the stage we're in right now. And we're monetizing, how we're all going to monetize this is going to be right on the heels of that. But if you're not either choosing to go the evolution route or the revolution route right now, you're going to be missing out. But ultimately, we are going to have managed intelligence providers, MSPs, professional services companies, break fix companies, all doing a great job. I'm not of the mindset that you have to do this or you will perish. I don't necessarily think that's true, at least not in the near future. But it's time to get going. Amanda, what do you think?
Well, before I turn to Amanda, I just got to ask, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that in German. Amanda.
Amanda, help me.
Unfortunately, I was not running tape on that. Otherwise, in about 5 to 10 minutes, I'd be able to produce a German version. But I do love that callback. Thank you, Chris. But that, to call back, I do think it's so transformative, even in small ways, even in the day to day. We talk about training our folks, even at an MSP, even though your whole reason for being is not education, talking about training your people, making these things more efficient. How do we adjust our lens, not just to the technical? What are the tools that we have available? How do we sell this thing, right? How do we think about preparing people for that same evolution and that same revolution? I know in Academy, we're going to have a huge focus on sort of what does it mean to transform the human component of this equation? How do we build up those strategy skills, those account management skills, the basic problem solving, right? It's very hard to craft a good prompt if you've never done one before. And a lot of that lies in the same kind of skill structure we have in our engineers and our help desk. Like those people know how to troubleshoot. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention leadership skills, right? Like we have to have the ability to lead our people through these major changes. So I'm just curious, back to you guys. Chris, tell me something like you're very close with a lot of these role-based peer groups, a lot of these instructor-led courses that are being built. What are some of the big categories or the big skill sets that you see as sort of a challenge as we look to implement this AI?
Well, I think you hit on a couple of them that I'd love to highlight, and I think that a common theme that we get a lot is developing next generation leaders. We could we could have a whole episode or a whole show just on how the change of the industry and kind of this legacy and planning and things like that, but we won't. So but building the next group of leadership. So response to that, we've built a lot of courses. We have groups on peer groups around those in roles where they're establishing those skills to go from the technician or somebody doing that to somebody leading people doing that. Very distinct things. So it's kind of fun to see, but there's a lot of resources in Academy to help people kind of grow in their journey in whatever that role is. So great topic of conversation.
Yeah, leadership for sure. And it's not just leading people, it might be leading agents. Like Greg said, right? Your team might be made up of both robots and people. And knowing how to manage all of those features and all of those things, pulling that all together in a successful service delivery is a pretty impressive feat. So really about making sure that that component, the human component, isn't ignored and that we pay a lot of attention to how do we build those relationships with our people, both inside our company and our client base, right? We can't forget that everything we do is for our clients. And if we lose track of who they are, what they care about, all of the fancy AI is not really going to help us in the world. So that relationship building will be core to everything we do.
Oh,
I
you
would
mean it might
love,
is it tied back to our mission, our vision, our values, our culture? Sorry, I couldn't resist.
perhaps.
All right, back to you.
No, great point, right? Like that you are using AI to support your culture, not to replace it.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing point. That leads us really well into a pretty powerful quote I would love to bring up. Nick Hetty said something pretty impressive. I just love this quote: lead with humanity, scale with intelligence. Just triple underline that, right? I think that's so important and it kind of sums up what we've talked about today. Any last thoughts, guys?
I love that line that says AI is not going to replace lawyers or insert knowledge worker here, but lawyers that leverage AI will replace lawyers that don't. Right? Like that's the way I'm applying that lead with humanity, scale with intelligence.
I love that interpretation. Yeah. Thanks,
That's
Rex.
a great example. That's a great example, and I think for me, I love that. But my first thought was really kind of just around the having the purpose and the strategy and the intent, and what does it serve. And I think to be true to kind of what your mission, vision, values, who you are, your identity, and using AI to hone that, make it more effective to the scale or optimize versus replace or without that strategic plan, I think it's not as effective. And um, so
100%. Thank
yeah,
you
I'll leave
both.
it at
I'm
that.
not going to add anything because you guys nailed it perfectly on the head. I'm just going to throw it straight to Keith. We've got an awesome sales pitch up next. So without further ado, let's see this fastball.
Imagine a baseball team that had no manager, or more fitting, having a manager like in the movie Bad News Bears, letting players do whatever the heck they wanted to do. Do you think that team would be successful? In baseball, you can have the most talented lineup, but with no strategy, practice, or development, you'll have a disruptive team, disorder, and confusion, and the results will definitely not be there. When it comes to hiring, managing, and leading salespeople in the IT services industry, many owners and executives, they kind of make mistakes of hiring a salesperson and providing them with little to no guidance. They hire somebody, they do a little onboarding, do the HR paperwork stuff, a little bit of training on the CRM and PSA, and then they're like, go get them, Tiger. Then they wonder why their new salesperson's not selling anything. Other challenges start to peak up too, that'll lead to less successful sales, such as not having a sales framework, obsessing over the dashboard and the activities, telling and not developing, and not having a sales process, to name a few. So let's touch all the bases on how to build trust, align the team, develop a sales team, and getting results. 1. Develop a framework. Have everybody speaking the same language, properly qualifying opportunities and aligning with the buyers by having business conversations. 2. Develop a process, a sales process, one that gets results and one that gets you in front of all the stakeholders. 3. Managing behaviors and skills, helping the sales team on what you sell, who you sell to, the business problems that you solve for clients in your target industry, prospecting tactics that actually work, and skills of asking good questions through role-playing and sales training. 4. Coach and develop them. Don't just tell them, explain to them, show them, guide them, and enable them to be better salespeople. Go on first-time appointments and closing meetings with them. Be there to help them succeed. Don't just be the manager that hires the sales talent and expects the results. Be the coach. Be the leader. Help your sales team be winners and maximize their sales abilities.
Well, I just really enjoyed talking with Chris and Rex today about this topic. I get really fired up about it. Thank you so much for watching today. Hopefully, you got a little bit of our energy coming your direction. Be sure to check us out next time. Remember, we are live every other Tuesday at 2 Mountain and always on demand. And remember, we are a podcast. So get out there, subscribe on whatever platform you find podcasts on. Don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube. If you like seeing our pretty faces, that's always an option as well. So until next time, see y'all.